As digital demand continues to increase, school districts need to look at their options for expanding their network. As an update to the E-Rate 2.0, E-Rate 2.1 was rolled out in 2015 with the goal of ensuring that all schools and libraries have access to high-speed connectivity. The updated program increases spending from $2.4 billion to $3.9 billion to support the increased broadband connectivity goals established by the FCC. The FCC has found there are two major obstacles to achieving the E-Rates program's goals: lack of access to broadband infrastructure, particularly in rural areas, and the high recurring cost of high-speed connections. Though E-Rate has historically funded all Category 1 requests, a substantial percentage of schools and libraries are not in a position to meet the short and long-term connectivity targets. Here are some major highlights of E-Rate 2.1. First, USAC, or USAC, has now suspended its 4-year requirement that applicants amortize Category 1 special construction charges in excess of $500,000 over multiple years. This change will spur more vendors to bid on E-Rate projects that require special construction and encourage efficient investment, since vendors will not pass along financing costs to applicants. Second, applicants will now be allowed to pay the non-discounted portion of special construction in installment plans for up to 4 years. And finally, amending the E-Rate program's eligible services list. Now the treatment of lit and dark fiber are equal and both must be bid. Dark fiber leases permit a customer to purchase capacity on a provider-owned and maintained fiber network without paying the provider for the equipment or lit carrier service. The customer can choose their own modulating electronics required to light the fiber. The FCC anticipates funding for dark fiber will be a cost-effective option for many E-Rate applicants by increasing the number of competitive options for broadband construction and deployment and lowering recurring costs. Applicants that seek bids for dark fiber must also seek bids for lit fiber over a comparable time period, with no official time period put in place. This could be upwards of 20 years if justified. They must also include equipment and maintenance costs associated with lighting dark fiber in the same application with the dark fiber lease. Many dark fiber providers do not or cannot sell equipment, so these items should be treated separately. So you will have separate bids that will need to be combined to determine costs, along with maintenance and management. One of the most significant changes permits applicants to seek self-construction of fiber for their own high-speed broadband networks. Self-construction provides another option for districts that have limited access to managed or dark fiber. Self-constructed networks are typically implemented by a subcontractor with monitoring, maintenance, and repair, often performed by the contractor or other subcontractors that can assist with those services. Now let's take a look at some of the practical differences between dark and lit fiber. The upfront costs or capital expenditures associated with dark fiber and self-construction projects can be far greater than for lit carrier services or lit fiber due to construction costs. On the other hand, over time, lit carrier services generally have higher recurring costs or operating expenditures than dark fiber or self-construction, because providers build operation and maintenance or O&M costs into the recurring fees charged to provide service. However, O&M costs in a dark fiber service often does not include relocation of fiber, a cost consideration. Self-construction of a fiber network will require the largest upfront capital expenditure compared to similar managed and dark fiber services. O&M costs of a self-constructed fiber network can be very expensive if a fiber line is cut or needs to be relocated. Schools can mitigate this risk through agreements with third-party contractors or dark fiber providers to maintain fiber networks and to ensure repairs are included in that arrangement. In either dark or self-construction, districts need to avoid variable costs that are not covered by E-Rate funding by negotiating an O&M agreement in the lease or construction that accounts for these costs. The cost of scaling up the bandwidth of a network can vary dramatically based on the type of service provided. Increasing the bandwidth for a dark fiber or self-constructed network may trigger little to no extra cost, whereas an increase in bandwidth from a lit carrier service may be too costly or even impossible. For instance, the network may already be at capacity, and new equipment would be needed to increase the bandwidth. First and foremost, a district should understand that they may utilize a mix and match of all these options. There is no one option that has to be a perfect fit. The goal is to provide the best network for the district to scale in a cost-effective manner under the E-rate program. For a more detailed comparison, take a look at the second part of this video, Category 1 Options, Part 2.